Welcome to Cardboard Box Games. I'm Adam.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Adam. This is episode 22, which is crazy.
That's insane.
And this is a very special one. And we're sorry it's a little bit late because we just got back from the Vault Tour.
Yeah.
We're tired, but we're also excited about everything.
We are.
So let's get started, and our Tales of the Vault Tour will continue. Alright, we start off every week. We can't do it any differently. Card of the week.
Yep.
Adam, you kick it off this week.
So, my card's a Logos card, and it's called Psychic Bug. It's rare. Once you play this card, you gain an amber for playing it. One raw amber. It's a creature card. It has 2 life, but its special ability is when you play or reap with it, you may look at your opponent's hand. Now,
Why'd you pick that?
This card really helped me in the tournament, actually. I played this card, and I saw they had a bait and switch in their hand. I'm like, oh, wow. Because next turn I was going to gain about 10 amber. I'm like, okay, probably shouldn't do that next turn.
Psychic Bug is actually fantastic. And I definitely think I undervalued peeking at your opponent's hand. It is incredibly valuable.
It's powerful.
In the last phase of the tournament I was in, I had a card in my deck that allowed me to look at my opponent's hand and purge any Sanctum cards in it or something like that.
Dang.
And that was amazing because I'm like, okay, play that first. Look at your hand. Hey, you got no way to stop me. Gaining my amber. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is such a good feeling to know that your opponent can't stop you.
Yeah.
That bug, that psychic bug is super good. I think it definitely underrated based on the knowledge that I gained at this Vault Tour.
Yeah.
All right, what's your card of the week, Andrew?
I chose Safe Place. You make it's a shadow card, and you gain an amber for playing it, and it's an artifact. You may spend 1 amber on Safe Place when you forging keys.
So you may spend any amber that you want on Safe Place. Yep.
And move 1 amber from your. It's has an action ability, and it says move 1 amber from your pool to Safe Place. And I think this card is pretty good. This card saved me a lot in battles for the huge tournament. I was able to forge a key, even though and they stole so much of my amber, but I kept on making it safe. So I kind of like this card a lot.
So that was one of my surprises from the tournament, is how good Safe Place was. Granted, this was a sealed tournament.
Yeah.
So the logistics behind it are different. But Safe Place was amazing. And actually in the winning, I got to see a little bit of the finals. The person in there, he had a Safe Place, and it ended up letting him win the game as well. Safe Place was tough to play against. It was amazing to have. But I will say, I learned one thing about Safe Place. You don't want to load it up with amber. Really, you just need 1 amber on it. You get 1 amber on there, you go to 6 on your normal amber pool. They might steal 1. You can still forge.
Yeah.
7 is dangerous, especially if you're playing against a Broadmar deck. So, Safe Place makes that so much better. It is awesome. That is another card that I really want to explore a bit more, but that Safe Place was amazing in the tournament.
Yeah.
So my card wasn't as impactful as you guys', but I opened probably the coolest looking Maverick in Gabos Long Arms. This was the deck that I ended up playing in the Vault Tour, which we'll talk about how well we did in a little bit here. So Gabos Long Arms is normally a disc creature, and it actually looks cooler as a Shadows creature. The blues and stuff just come out of it really awesome. If you're watching on YouTube, I'll try to actually hold it up to let you see it here in a second. But it's a 5-power creature, and before you fight, choose a creature. Gabos Long Arm deals damage to that creature rather than the one it is fighting. And I will tell you, this card actually did work for me. I was able to take off, they would have, taunt creatures up. They would have things that were just super annoying. I was able to go around that, and it was amazingly good. So Shadow Self, for example, attacking a Shadow Self, take no damage, send the damage over to, a poison guy. I don't get damaged at all. This card actually did some really good work, but it also looks pretty amazing.
Yeah,
It does.
All right, so I think to go into our next phase, let's talk about how we did at the tournament, and maybe what we'll do, Adam, start with you. Tell us about the 3 decks that you got, because this was a 3-deck sealed event. You had to pick one and play it for the rest of the tournament.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk first, and we'll go with Adam first, but how hard was it to do that?
For me, wasn't that hard for me. I mean, I really like all my decks. I just picked a deck I was more familiar with the synergies with it. And that deck ended up with me getting 2-4.
Yeah.
And now that I think about it, I think my other decks would have played better. And they're like higher sass than my other deck.
Yeah.
Oh, it was
But
So you
it
won
was
your
really
first
fun.
game,
I did win my first game.
and then you went on a losing streak.
I did. But then the last game I did come back with another win.
He stayed in until the end for the amber shards.
I did, yeah.
yeah. Cool.
Yeah. How about you, Andrew?
Um,
How hard was it, first off, to pick a deck?
First off, I had 3 decks. Both of them were Mars, and I don't like Mars. And the third one was
2 of them are Mars.
yeah, two
Okay.
yeah, 2 of them were Mars, and the third one I kind of didn't really like the houses. No shadow at all, and I was like, shadow's my main house for me, and this is hard. So I chose the one that wasn't Mars, and it was the best deck.
It was a
out of
time traveler deck.
Yeah,
right?
it's a time traveler deck, which was amazing. It was really fun. I got 3 and 3 with it. I thought I could have done much better. Every game was like really, really close. And it was
Pit Lord cost you a game one time? Or is it Pit Lord?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
a Pit Lord.
Yeah, so you had a combo where he would play Pit Lord, Hysteria back to his hand, play Pit Lord again,
4 Amber.
get 4 Amber, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he had one time where he couldn't get rid of Pit Lord, and it ended up like really hurting him. That's what you said, right?
Mm-hmm. It stinks.
All right. So for me, you won your first game too. So
Yeah.
they both start out winning. I actually lost my first game in a nail biter, and I played against the nicest person, Tim, who actually recognized us from our. So shout out to you, Tim. It was awesome playing against you, who also did really well at the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a nail biter, and what it came down to, and of course the game could have changed, is so he had played a lot of Brobnar creatures and he had played a lot of Sanctum creatures, but he hadn't played any Untamed, and that was his deck.
Oh.
And we were probably like 4 turns in. I had a control of the week in like 6 or 7 amber. I had enough to forge a key. And I'm like, man, there's no way he's got more Brobnar creatures. Nothing Brobnar on the board could stop me. There's no way he has that. Sanctum, I was a little nervous because, you know, they do have cards that can take away your amber. So I'm like,
Capture.
Yeah.
and then Untamed, I'm like, more than likely his hand is full of Untamed. So that was the thought process that I went through. So I called Brobnar and made him control the wheel. I'm like, okay, I should be able to get my second key. And that would have put me in a great place to win the game at that point. But
Yeah.
he ended up capturing it all with Unguarded Camp. So because his creatures were bigger than mine, he would take out all of mine, captured all 6 or 7 of my amber that I had at the time, and was able to gain enough on his turn so that when it came back to his turn, he would get his second key.
Wow.
So I went from being ahead on amber and about to get my second key to basically having no amber,
Wow.
and him now having enough amber to forge a second key, all in the matter of that one turn. And I could not draw my gateway to blow up the board, and that's what I needed so badly. I needed to draw that the very next turn or have that in my hand to get all that back to have a chance, but I wasn't able to do that. I go into my second game thinking, like, man, this is going to be rough, because I really wasn't happy with any 3 of my decks. Like, all of them one of them felt really bad, one of them felt like kind of below average, and one of them felt average. And I ended up playing the deck that just felt average. And I will say that I ended up, like, after we were able to scan them in and kind of review them, had time to think about it, I definitely picked the right deck. I picked the one that was the best that I had out of the 3. Was not a tournament winning deck, though. It wasn't as good as some of the decks I played. So I had to play, like, fantastic to win. Like, I could not really make mistakes. Like, my mistakes had to be really limited. So I ended up going on a 4-game winning streak. So I went to 4-1. And I'm like, oh my gosh, down to the final game. To go into day 2, I needed to win that final game. The guy I played against, I was ahead 2 keys. And the 2 keys, and he had 1 key. And he ended up letting me, he ended up like gaining so much amber. And he kept hitting with Subtle Maul all my cards that would do anything to stop him. He hit my Charette. He also had more creatures on the board. And he hit my Glorious Few, which gives you an amber for each creature. Like, he had Evanescence Principle, he had Bait and Switch, he had Urchins, he had Subtle Maul. Like, he had, like, just so many answers to everything that I had. And it was, so my deck was not like that. My deck was more like, get as much amber as I can and hope they don't take it. So I honestly think my matchup was bad in that case. But I felt like if I'd have played it differently, I could have possibly won. But he ended up beating me 3-2, and I was like one turn away from being able to get my key too. So he had just kind of like beat me, and he ended up going into the day 2. So because we were both 4-1, and I ended up not being able to make day 2. And watching him in the fight, like in the final rounds, he ended up winning again. So I think he ended up going to top 8 or whatever, top 7, because they started with 14 in day 2, and then he ended up losing. So, I felt like I had a pretty good showing with a pretty mediocre deck, and I played like some exceptionally, really well played KeyForge in my opinion. There was a couple games on day 2 when I was playing on side events where my mind kind of I wasn't feeling the zone that I was in like in day 1. Yeah. Day 1 I was like seeing the big picture. I was picking what I needed to play. But day 2 was a little bit fuzzier. So none of us made day 2.
None of us.
Played against awesome guys. I think the best part of the entire experience for me was meeting the people that recognized us.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And one person pulled off Epic Quest on me, which is the card that lets you, if you play 7 Sanctum cards, you get to forge a key for free. And he did that to me, and that's the first time I've ever seen that ever work. Ever. I've got an Epic Quest deck that never has worked, and he was able to he had a ton of knights, though, which was awesome. I still was able to beat him, but it was really cool to see that fire off. It's scary at the same time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't stop this.
I also played against an Epic Quest deck, but this was for the Sealed Survival tournament we went to for day 2.
Yeah, so talk about first what we did for day 2.
Okay, so for day 2, we joined the Sealed Survival. We each get 3 decks, but instead, we can all play the 3 decks. We play until you get eliminated with that one deck.
So the deck is like a life. So once you lose, that deck's eliminated.
And we thought you played until you lost all your lives, basically, all your decks. So we picked our worst decks first.
It was not smart of me to do that.
And then best decks last.
I felt like they didn't tell us.
They didn't tell us.
They should have told us there was going to be 4 rounds.
Yeah. They basically just called it Sealed Survival, and they said when you lose, that deck's eliminated. That's all the rules that we had heard.
Yeah.
I was bummed about that.
But
so you and I started with our worst
did.
decks. Did you start with your worst deck too?
Yeah.
I won with my first deck, and it has 3 ways to forge a key: key abduction, key charge, and Chota. And I was in a horrible position the whole entire game, but my opponent, he had like 20 creatures on the board. He would never reap with them.
Oh, I know, I saw it.
Never reaped with them once, basically.
Honestly, even in the main event, I would always get really happy because there were games that I should have lost, but just because I would put them in a situation where they had to make a suboptimal play to stop me, they weren't able to reap or they weren't able to do anything.
Yeah.
But not reaping with creatures was probably the biggest mistake I saw people make.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people don't reap.
It's so important. So what did you do in the Sealed Survival? Okay, so I start with my worst deck, which was a bad deck, like in the 50s for Zach.
Mine was in the 60s. Yeah.
Like mine was bad, and I almost won against what I thought was a really good deck. Like I took it down, and the guy at the end said that was the best game he's played all weekend. Because like literally, like he was ahead of me, and then I would catch up, and then he'd catch up, like, and it was like back and forth, and I like almost won, and I felt like that game I played fantastic, and then I'm out of that. I'm exhausted because I think we were the last game to finish because we were just keeping it back and forth. That first game was the longest one I think out of the pod of people that were playing. So I lost my first one. You won your first one.
I won my first one.
So your deck went to round 2, and you lost your first one.
Yeah.
And your first game, was it pretty close, or did you get destroyed?
His Mars was insane. Like, he had 15 cards in his hand. He got a free key because of that one Mars card.
Key Abduction, that's awesome.
One free key. His logos just let him draw so many cards. It's not even funny. I thought I could have won it. If he wouldn't have just not drawn so many cards, I would have won.
He just kept drawing so much.
Yeah, I can't beat that.
So game 2, I had to go to my next deck, which was my middle deck, because again, I didn't know. And plus we had to pick our order ahead of time.
Yeah.
So I didn't know. So anyway, my middle deck was better. A lot better than my first deck. So I want to say, like, my first deck was bad, and I still almost won. My second deck I ended up winning with. And then played against awesome people the entire time. I never had like a matchup where There was one guy I played against that took it really seriously. Like one guy that I had that wouldn't really like joke around and have fun, but everybody else was really nice and friendly.
Yeah.
I think you had one guy that took it way too seriously.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, before we talk about that, like KeyForge is about community and fun, and being nice to people is just what you should do in those games.
Mm-hmm.
Play mistakes are going to happen. You can treat them however you want, but at the end of the day, like, there's no reason to get so worked up about a game to be rude or mean to your opponent.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a few people there that I saw do that to a few people. I think you had a guy that did that to you. I saw someone else do it. Like, that's just not cool for the community. So I really want to say, like, in those situations, like, those people, like, they don't have a place in our KeyForge community. Like, I don't want people like that at these tournaments. And for the most part, this tournament was made up of just fantastically great people, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. So your second round, you ended up dropping again. So your second deck was eliminated.
Yeah.
And
My second round was not that close. Like, they had a super huge creature-heavy deck, and I couldn't really gain
he
enough
just destroyed
amber.
you?
Yeah. I did actually gain a key from Chota, and I gained a key from Chota, but I held key charge the whole entire game.
Oh.
I kept thinking I could use key charge. I'm like, okay, I'm at 6 amber. If I can't get it this turn, next turn, I'll get enough and do key charge. But then it never happened, because either they let me
I did
forge a
that too,
key,
actually.
or they just stole a bunch of amber where I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay, I'll keep key charge then. Wait until I can use it.
That was probably my biggest play mistakes, was holding on to key charge in the sealed event, the second day one, too much. So I won my game 2. You lost your game 2.
I lost
you
my
lost
game
your game 2.
Yeah.
I'm down to my. Oh no! So I won my second game. So I lost. I won, and then I'm still in my second deck. I go into game 3. I lose my game 3 in a nail biter of a game, in probably the craziest way I've ever seen anybody play before. So I had the game 1, but a Sanctum card that I had never seen before in game, unstun your friendly creatures.
Powerful.
So he
That's
unstunned his
crazy.
stuff, had a Sanctum guy in play that could reap and capture one. So he reaped, captured one of mine, still had enough amber. And then he used inspiration to ready and use a creature. Did it again, it reaped and captured another one, and he gained enough now. And I couldn't stop him. I'm like, how do I lose to a card like I thought I had that game, and I ended up losing. But it was again, he played exceptionally well. My opponent in that game was super nice, and he navigated that like amazingly well. He played fantastic, and I felt like I played really well that game. My second game, I was a little bumpy, I think. My final game that I played, so I was down to my last deck. You got eliminated.
Yeah.
So you lost your game 3. So you got 0-3.
You did. In my third round, I decided to play my Fagin deck,
Your best deck.
my best deck. And then my opponent also had a Fagin deck, but he went 2-0 so far, and I'm 1-1, and I didn't even play my Fagin deck yet.
So he knew what his was like.
He knew exactly what his was, and he had Epic Quest. He had 5 Knights in his deck, and his Shadow is so powerful with his Fagin. I killed his Fagin right away. His Fagin was the problem. Wasn't the problem at all. It was his Sanctum. He had 5 Sanctum cards, and just kept reaping with them all the time.
And you couldn't kill. I will tell you, big creatures are hard to deal with a. Anyway, we'll dig into that a little bit more, but big creatures are actually pretty powerful at times.
Yeah.
If people played with them the right way. And there are some people that I think valued like playing cards over reaping, and I think there's a balance there. And I definitely made some mistakes in the main event where I went one way and I should have done the other, and that's fine. But you got to like do both. You've got to like figure out how to balance that line back and forth. So, so you ended up. That was your last game. That was game 4, right?
That was game 3 I lost.
Game 3 you lost, and then you went to game 4.
I went to game 4.
Which we just found out was the last round.
You did, yeah.
So we go into game 4. I've got my best deck.
I got my second best deck.
Yeah, and you're out for game 4.
Yeah.
So what was your game 4 like?
So my game 4 was really close, I believe. Really, really close. But again, I had Key Charge in my hand at the way beginning of the game. I'm like, oh, I'm going to keep on to this. I believe I can forge a key with this.
Don't do
But
that.
you
I
can't
did-
keep it that long.
I know. I figured I could use it though.
Mhm.
So I held on to it. We were going back and forth, but then he just had so many huge creatures and started killing my creatures and reaping so much. He played really good.
Yeah.
Really good. He destroyed me.
My last game was I played against another podcaster. Really nice guy. We talked for quite a bit. His deck just wasn't very good, and he played well, but I ended up just running over him 3-0. Like my last game was the biggest one-sided game I had the entire weekend, and the main event, like every game was close. Like I had a chance to win every single game.
Yeah.
The second day, I had a chance to win every single game except for the last one, which I just won pretty easily. But I really wish I had started with deck 3 at the beginning. If I didn't known that it was only 4 rounds,
Yeah.
probably could have. I don't think I could have beaten that Fagin deck that was running around. But I think,
He went 4-0 too.
yeah,
So
I think I could have won
really
3
good.
instead of 2. Gotten some more amber from that. I did. Andrew accomplished this. I accomplished this. We got our metal keys, and that's what we really wanted. Adam already had metal keys, so
I
he ended
didn't
up
want
cashing in for the event pin,
it is.
and he's saving up his other amber, which he's wearing now. Oh, and he also got a box.
I got a Fagin box.
Because we came out and we got 18 new decks.
We did.
Because we did 3. The main events we each got 3. That's 9, and the next day we did the sealed survival events. We got another 9 between us. So we came in with 18 new decks, and you can see some of them kind of spread out here.
Yeah.
And I played my main event deck, which I really am pleased with how I played it. It was the EquipNet, the man that jabs the state, which I thought was kind of funny. And it's a Shadow Sanctum disc deck.
Yeah.
The problem with this deck is that the Sanctum was really weak. Like I felt like my shadows and my discs were good. They're not great,
But good.
but Sanctum was just not great. It was not good. But yeah, that was kind of my adventures, and I think the next thing I want to talk about was, we kind of talked about it a little bit already, but things that surprised us at the tournament. All right, so I've made a list of some things. But I will start with you, Andrew. You already said this, and I have this on my list too. Is Mars?
Yeah. I went against. I had really good decks. For like the side tournament, I went against every deck I went against and lost against was Mars.
And the thing is like, my deck that I played in day 2 had Mars in it, and my Mars was fantastic.
Mine was too. Yeah.
I had 8 creatures with John Smith,
Yeah.
Grabber Jammer, and I had weight. The deck was just great. It was just, I didn't have the stupid cards like Phosphorus Stars in there. It was like the Mars that I wanted, and it, to me, like, it was surprising like how many people had good Mars.
Yeah.
One of my Mars decks I got had EMP Blast. Pretty much kills the Mars creature and the artifact. So pretty much went against my Mars. So Mars was really good. I think they're changing Mars and making it much.
Well, this is
better.
still the
I know
same-
they're the same cards, but they're adding new algorithms to the cards and making them work together somewhat.
I have no idea, but my Mars deck was actually good. I've never opened a Mars deck with that good of synergy in it before.
Yeah.
I will say, the Mars deck. So, in the Mars deck, I said that was good.
Mm-hmm.
I had a person who also was playing Mars, and he had a I forget what card it was, but man, it was a card that like you purge a creature from your hand, and then you destroy all creatures that share a trait with it.
Oh yeah.
That card, yeah.
And so he purged a Martian. I had 6 Martians out on the board.
Oh.
So, and I actually did not know, and this is really bad for me to not have known this, but the whole time I thought trait was like a keyword, so that would be like elusive skirmish, things like that.
Is
like,
that what
but
it
it's
is?
actually the type, which I guess is my magic background. So to me, like type is the Martian soldier, or Martian whatever.
Yeah.
But it's actually trait is the Martian.
Really?
Martian. Yeah, it felt really weird to me, but that's what the people around me were saying, and I'm like, okay, we'll go with that. So I ended up losing my awesome board of Mars creatures, which were doing some damage. I had the guy that does 2 damage. I have the guy that lets you reap and use another guy, which I had a guy on the board that could steal 1. It was just, it was so fun to play my Mars deck. That's the first time I played a Mars deck that I felt like was really fun. So that was my first surprise. Did you feel like Mars was good?
I felt like it was really good. My Mars deck was really awesome with key abduction. I actually almost got that to work, but
I never had anyone pull it off of me, but you did. Yeah.
You got their key for free.
Yeah.
I actually almost got it to work.
They did it twice on me.
They pulled it off twice?
Twice? How did they do it twice?
Their logos was insane.
They were able to draw through their
They
deck?
drew all through their deck and just kept their cards and then played that and just got a free key.
With logos. That's pretty, yeah. That's pretty
Mars
great.
and logos, synergies.
If you can draw. If you get a good drawing, logos fun. So, yeah, anything else on Mars from you?
I was going to say that I was going to use key abduction to actually win, but then he saw my hand with the card. Forgot what card, but he saw my hand, and he knew I had a key abduction, so he killed my Mars creatures.
That's brutal.
Dang.
Yeah.
I had this one Mars deck that had the card that lets me return all friendly ready creatures to my hand.
Oh, really?
And for each card I return to my hand, or each one I return to my hand, I get an amber. So I was able to get like 6 or 7 amber off of that, and I thought that was actually pretty good. So I ended up returning all my creatures to my hand in that case, and that ended up getting me to a point where I could forge my 3rd key. But then they stopped me, but my board had been set behind, so I think I probably misplayed there. I think I overvalued that. What I should have probably done is just discarded that card and just kept hammering through my deck instead of returning 4 creatures to my hand.
Yeah.
And then only being able to replay 2. But I don't really know. You can never know like 100%. I felt like anytime that I could put myself in a position against a deck that I knew didn't have a lot of amber control based on their houses, that I was actually putting them in a tough spot. So I felt like I made the right play. Ended up backfiring in that case. But it's good. The other big surprise for me was how many big creature decks are running around. And I actually have been starting to, from this Vault Tour, I'm actually starting to categorize decks in like certain ways. And I feel like the big creature decks, I can kind of see them as like a mid-range deck in Magic the Gathering. Like, I kind of think about them as like a deck that's not fast, but a deck that can't win the long game, but a deck that's really good in the middle of the game. And the problem is my deck was a fast deck. So if I didn't win, and once I learned how to play my deck, I felt like I started playing better. So my first game I made some mistakes because I didn't know exactly how to play it.
Yeah.
So that I would say that's one of my flaws and things I need to work on. It's like being able to look at a deck and understanding how to play it right away. So anyway, once I did that, and I saw like the creature decks and I saw their houses. So if it was like Brobnar and Sanctum, which was pretty popular against my opponents, be like, Brobnar, Sanctum, and then like Shadows or Dis, or sometimes it wouldn't even have Shadows and Dis, and it would be Untamed. I'm like, all right, so I need to like hit them hard just by gaining amber, because they're always going to win board position late. Once you let them get creatures out, I just couldn't deal with it.
Yeah.
Unless I got my one gateway. And I was just really surprised how many people favored the Brobnar and Sanctum decks. I really did think that it was going to be Shadows in every matchup, and that wasn't the case for me. That was a surprise to me.
That was a huge surprise for me also.
It might have been the only choices they had, but it still was a surprise.
Yeah.
And I really am starting to classify and know how to play against each type of deck, which maybe we'll do a video in the future to kind of talk about sort of, and I'll share with you guys too, like the categories and the matchups and explain sort of how you play against certain things, because I've already had this kind of in my head for a while, but the Vault Tour and all the games that we played really cemented some of these ideas in my mind. And I think it'd be really fun to talk about it.
Yeah.
The other thing that was really surprising to me was just how nice everyone was. I felt like everybody was incredibly nice. The community around KeyForge was great. The people at the event that were running the event were really nice. I mean,
they were really nice.
It was really, really fun. I met people that I hope I can see again in the future. And,
Same.
And I would just want to give a shout out to quite a few people that we met. Cody from Bouncing Deathquark came up, and really nice guy. He made it to the day 2, which was really awesome. Team Sass had a few people there that we got to talk to. Met a lot of people that recognized us. Several people that just walked up and said, "Hey, we love the stuff that you guys make," and it was just amazing. It was such a great experience.
It is.
Even though I'm tired, we just drove back 6.5 hours. We literally just got in like an hour ago. So my hair's probably crazy. I kind of want to go jump in the shower. But at the same time, like, it was just a good time. Is there anything else that you guys found was surprising, or what did you guys think? Do you think everybody mostly was nice and it was a cool event?
Yeah, it was really fun for our first time actually going to a huge event.
So
like
huge
that.
event, yeah.
It was super cool, super fun. I loved the city and everything. The traffic wasn't that bad.
Yeah, traffic was actually pretty good.
I mean, I could tell
It
you
was
guys
really
were a
nice.
little bummed because of your performance on day one.
I mean, I was a little bit bummed, but we got cool decks.
I'm
Yeah.
happy with 3 and 3 though.
Yeah,
I mean, we got tons of amber. We got a Fagin deck, Time Traveler deck.
Yeah.
Niflheim
I
deck.
love the Maverick decks. We got a Lights Out Maverick. We've got like a Gabos Long Arms, which I still love this card.
Yeah.
It looks so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got actually good Mars decks now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to experiment with Mars. I mean, granted, the one thing that I think we were bummed about is we ended up having to leave a little bit early on day 2 because our other family members they were getting worn out at the place they were at, so we had to go get them. But we really wanted to do some Archon pods because we brought our good decks with us, and we wanted to see. We know how they stack up in our local town. We wanted to see how they would stack up
Against everyone's.
when people are bringing them from all over the world in. So we weren't able to do that. But hopefully we can go to another one at some point and try that out. I still have a lot of Amber Shards, so hopefully we can find something cool to spend them on.
Yeah. We got so much Amber Shards. Like each win, we got 15, 30 for entering for like the
main
tournament.
event. The little side events were not that good at Amber Shards.
Yeah.
They give you 2 for entering.
You would think it would be a little bit
Five
more
per
because
win.
we came back on the second day and did the side
I
events.
don't
you know?
quite understand the payout for that. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. But anyway, yeah, the first day, man, I wanted to make day 2 so bad. And I think, like, putting that kind of. And then I play a person whose deck was just phenomenal. And, like, he bait and switched me. And then he Everness's Principled me. And then he got through and he bait and switched me again. And, like, I still was ahead of him. Like, I survived a ton of stuff. But he ended up, like, petering me out to where I just couldn't have enough on the board to live and survive. But man, it was so heartbreaking to lose that final round. But I go back to my very first game, although that my whole tiers would have been different. And I gotta remember Unguarded Camp, and I need to think about that card in the future because that card, even though it's rare, I've never had that really happen before.
And the Sun card.
Yeah, and the Stone card. I need to at least have those in my mind, like as worst case scenarios, what happens in those, so I can, because that's how I like to play. I'm like, worst case, they have this and this. Best case, they have this. And then, then you can make decisions based on that, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. So if you guys went to the Atlanta tournament, can you guys let us know what's the sass of the winning deck? Because I was
We could probably find it, look it up. That deck was awesome, though.
it was amazing.
You played against the winner.
Yeah. It was insane.
You played, what round did you play in? First round?
Not first round.
Second round?
I think it was fourth round. Maybe no, third or fourth round, maybe one of those rounds. But his deck was amazing. It was awesome, and he was one of our fans too.
Yeah, he recognized it.
Yeah, it was awesome. We were he was gonna tell me the stats of the deck afterwards, but he had to go to the podcasting and talk about the whole tournament and stuff.
That's awesome.
But then we had to go earlier, so we had to leave, so we didn't really find out. But hopefully he sees.
That's cool. So did they do They did a podcast recording at the end?
Yeah, I think he did like a Twitch thing.
Oh, okay. On Twitch. I saw them streaming it on Twitch, but
yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, that was cool. It was a ton of fun. I really do want to go to another one, and I hope we can make that happen. I wish there'd be another one in our area at some point. But right now, my next sites are on Saturday, which has Age of Ascension coming out, and I'm looking forward to going, hopefully winning that tournament, or hopefully doing well at that tournament.
Yeah.
Because I feel like as long as I'm rested, day one I was pretty tired too, because we drove in super late, and then we got up. So I felt like I started off shaky, but then I got kind of in the zone to how I was playing. But if I'm pretty rested and I go in, I think I can play pretty well. I've definitely made mistakes. There's definitely better players. But I think I'm actually getting to the point where I was like at Magic, where I felt like I could compete at a really high level and do some awesome things. One thing I did know is that you should always watch the board state on both sides, because there was one situation that I had in one of my games where my opponent, I'd have a succubus out, or I would only let them play 2 cards, and it was my job to make sure I constantly reminded them that and just do that in a nice way. But there was one game where someone had a Titan mechanic out, and they played Lash of Broken Dreams, or they tapped Lash of Broken Dreams to make my keys cost 9. But because of Titan mechanic, I had 8 amber, and I was still able to forge, and I almost missed that. So like there are little play mistakes like that I should have never missed, and that in that case it was a bystander that was there. It's like, wait, you've got to forge your key. I'm like, oh, I can't. It's 9. It's like Titan mechanic. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like that was probably my worst. No, if I could watch it all back on video, there are probably tons of mistakes. But that was probably my worst mistake because I should never have missed that.
Yeah, it seems like I feel like every game should have like a little bystander because they to make sure
Like a
everything.
judge or
Yeah,
something?
make sure everything is going well
For tournament stuff.
Yeah, because I think everybody made mistakes at the tournament too. I made mistakes.
I saw people play 4 cards when they should have only played 2 because of the Ember Imp. Like,
my opponents made mistakes. Yeah, a lot of people made mistakes.
chains are easy to forget, and it like I had one opponent forget chains, and I just let him do it the following turn. You know, just take it on. I don't get super mad about that stuff. At the end of the day, like it's a game, and we're there to have fun. So it's not a big deal, but it's still like it makes you feel bad when you make a mistake and you're winning or you win because of it. Because at the same time, like, would it have been different if I wouldn't have missed this one thing? Like, if I wouldn't have forged my key from that Titan mechanic, that game would have been way different. Like, I would have gained some amber. He probably would have done something terrible to me the next turn. Like, I don't know what would have happened, but it would have been a way different game. Anyway, if you guys saw us at the Atlanta Vault Tour, we'd love to know what your usernames are so we can keep in touch. Tim, for sure. We really enjoyed spending time with Tim and his friend. His friend is actually, which I can't remember his name, unfortunately. Chris, maybe? No, I don't know. But anyway, his friend's the one that actually did the epic quest to me. So you guys give us a shout out if you happen to see that. Leave us a comment or something, man, so we know who you are by username. And that's it for me this week. I'm going to go probably edit this and rest for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
How about you guys? Any closing thoughts?
No, that's really it.
Yeah. Thank you guys all that were nice at the tournament, and sorry that we've kind of forgot your names. We're just really tired. And we're just like,
Yeah.
Our minds are just not.
There's a lot of people.
A lot of people.
Yeah. All right. Till next time, everybody.
Keep gaming.
See ya. Bye.
See ya.